Have you ever watched a child melt down over something small, like not getting the blue cup instead of the red one, and thought to yourself, goodness, where did all that emotion come from? Or maybe you've seen a little one shy away from a tough moment, unsure of how to say how they're feeling, and you just wished you had the right words to help them through it. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. As we get older, we start to realize that helping a child navigate their feelings is just as important, maybe even more important, than helping them tie their shoes or memorize the alphabet. Because while learning the ABCs can help a child read books, learning to handle emotions, that helps them handle life. That's why today, we're talking about something that doesn't always get the attention it deserves: emotional intelligence. It's not a fancy buzzword or some new parenting trend. It's about giving kids the tools to understand themselves, connect with others, and grow into kind, balanced, and resilient people. And here's the best part: you don't have to be a child psychologist or a parenting expert to teach it. You just have to care. And I know you already do. In this video, we're going to walk through 6 heartfelt, down-to-earth ways you can help encourage emotional intelligence in the children you love. Whether you're a parent, grandparent, or a special part of a child's life, these are the kinds of tools that can make all the difference, not just now, but for years to come. Let's start with something incredibly simple but so often missed: naming emotions. Think about this for a second. How often do we expect children to use their words without giving them the right words to use in the first place? A child knows they feel something when they're frustrated, tired, excited, or even jealous, but they may not have any idea how to say it. That's where you come in. The next time you see a child struggling or even just lighting up with joy, try gently giving them a name for what they're feeling. You might say, "You look really frustrated that your tower fell down," or "I can tell you're proud of that drawing, you should be." Over time, those words become tools. And when a child can name what they feel, they can begin to manage it, too. I remember watching my granddaughter cry over her toy not working. Her face was red, her little fists clenched, and I almost jumped in to fix it for her. But instead, I knelt down and said, "That's so frustrating when something doesn't work the way you want, isn't it?" She stopped crying for a second and nodded. That was the beginning of her learning, not just how to fix a toy, but how to understand her own feelings. And from there, we move into the next powerful step: letting kids feel what they feel, without rushing to fix it. Now, I know this one can be hard. When a child is crying or angry or scared, every instinct we have tells us to soothe them, distract them, or get them smiling again as fast as possible. We don't like to see them uncomfortable. But emotions are not problems to be fixed, they're experiences to be felt. When we allow a child to sit with an emotion, to feel sad or disappointed or even angry, without trying to sweep it away or make it go away, we teach them that emotions are safe. That it's okay to feel things deeply. And that feelings aren't shameful, they're just part of being human. You can still be supportive, of course. You might say, "It's okay to feel sad that your friend didn't want to play today. I felt that way too." You don't have to change the emotion. Just acknowledge it. And in doing that, you're saying something deeply comforting: you're not alone in this. This teaches empathy, too, because when a child knows their own emotions are accepted, they're more likely to accept the emotions of others. And that, right there, is the heart of emotional intelligence. Another small but powerful thing you can do? Talk about your own feelings, out loud, in everyday life. I know many of us were raised in homes where emotions were private, or worse, considered signs of weakness. But children learn from what we do, not just what we say. So if you're feeling tired, say it. If you're excited to see them, say that too. Let them hear words like disappointed, worried, hopeful, or grateful in your voice. That normalizes emotions, and it gives them a blueprint. I remember a moment with my grandson. I was reading him a story, and halfway through, I realized I was too tired to finish. Instead of pushing through or making up an excuse, I simply said, "You know what, honey? I'm feeling really tired tonight. I think my body's asking me to rest. Can we finish the story tomorrow?" He looked at me, nodded, and said, "Okay, Grandpa. I get tired too." That may seem small. But to a child, it's huge. It's proof that emotions don't have to be hidden. That they're part of everyday life. That it's safe to say what you need. When you start doing these things regularly, naming emotions, allowing them to be felt, and modeling your own emotional awareness, you're not just helping kids understand their feelings. You're helping them feel safe with their feelings. And in a world that often tells them to toughen up, quiet down, or hold it all in, that kind of support is a gift beyond words. Now that we've explored a few of the building blocks of emotional intelligence, let's keep going and look at more beautiful, simple ways you can support a child's emotional growth in everyday life. Support a child's emotional growth in everyday life by giving them the chance to solve problems for themselves. It can be so tempting to step in right away when you see a child struggling, whether they're building a tower that keeps falling over or dealing with a disagreement with a friend. You just want to make it easier for them, right? But here's something powerful. Confidence and emotional intelligence are built through those small moments of challenge. Not when everything goes smoothly, but when a child has the chance to say, "This is hard, but I can figure it out." Instead of jumping in with the answer, try asking a question. Something simple like, "What do you think we should try next?" Or "How did that make you feel, and what do you want to do about it?" It's amazing how kids rise to the occasion when they feel trusted. And when they figure something out on their own, even if it takes longer, they're not just solving a problem. They're learning that they can. I remember watching my granddaughter try to open a tricky snack wrapper. Her little fingers kept slipping. I started reaching for it, but I caught myself. Instead, I said, "Would you like a tip or do you want to keep trying a bit longer?" She looked up at me and said, "Let me try again." A few seconds later, she got it. That tiny moment was more than just about a wrapper, it was about trust, and letting her own voice and effort matter. Letting kids work through emotional challenges works the same way. If a child says, "My friend was mean today," it's easy to say, "Oh, I'm sure they didn't mean it," or just ignore it. But what happens when you pause and say, "That sounds like it really hurt. What would help you feel better right now?" Suddenly, you're not brushing it aside. You're inviting the child to explore their feelings and their needs. You're teaching them not to stuff their emotions down, but to understand and respond to them thoughtfully. That's what emotional intelligence is all about. It's not about getting rid of hard emotions. It's about knowing what they are, why they're there, and what we can do with them. And speaking of hard emotions, this next idea is one that really takes root when we approach it gently, teaching kids that all feelings are okay, but not all behaviors are. Now, this is a big one. Because we all want to raise kind, respectful children. But sometimes we rush to correct the behavior without honoring the feeling underneath. Let's say a child is angry and starts shouting or even throwing something. The behavior? Not okay. But the feeling? Totally valid. Instead of saying, "Stop yelling," we might try, "I can see you're really angry. It's okay to feel that way, but it's not okay to throw things. Let's figure out another way to show your anger." This teaches self-regulation. It shows the child that their feelings won't get them in trouble, but their actions are something we can guide and shape. And it's so empowering for them. Because when you separate the emotion from the action, kids don't feel like they have to hide how they feel. They just learn healthier ways to express it. Over time, you'll notice something beautiful happen. Children begin to pause before reacting. They start to use their words. They might even say, "I'm mad right now, but I'm going to walk away instead of yelling." That's not just good behavior, that's emotional maturity. And when that starts showing up in your living room, your kitchen, or even at the park, it's like watching a little seed finally start to bloom. And while we're nurturing all this emotional awareness, one of the most meaningful things you can do is create a space where your child feels heard, really heard. That means giving them your attention when they're talking, even when the story is long or the feelings are messy. And I know, especially when you're tired or busy, it can be hard to stop and truly listen. But those are the moments that stick with a child. I had a moment just last week with my grandson. He was going on and on about a dream he had, dragons, flying sandwiches, a talking raccoon. It was all over the place. And I almost tuned it out. But then I looked at his face. He was watching me, hoping I'd stay with him. So I did. I listened, I asked questions, and I stayed present. And at the end, he hugged me and said, "Thanks for listening, Grandpa." That was important. That's when it hit me. Listening isn't just about the words. It's about showing a child they matter. That what they say, even if it's strange or emotional or long-winded, is worth your time. And that's where emotional intelligence grows, in the space where a child feels safe, seen, and supported. So, as you go through your day, whether you're helping with homework, playing pretend, or just sitting quietly next to a child, know that every one of these moments is an opportunity. You're not just guiding a child's behavior. You're helping them understand who they are, how they feel, and how to move through the world with kindness, courage, and calm. And that's a beautiful legacy to leave behind. Now that we've covered some of the most powerful emotional tools you can offer a child, let's explore the final tips that bring it all together and leave them feeling truly empowered from the inside out. Leave them feeling truly empowered from the inside out by helping them build empathy, one of the most beautiful parts of emotional intelligence. And here's the thing, empathy isn't something kids are born understanding. It's something they learn, and they often learn it from the people they trust most. That might be you. When a child sees you pause to ask someone how their day went, when they hear you say, "I bet that was hard for her," after a story on the news, or when they watch you offer kindness to someone having a bad day, they're not just witnessing good manners. They're seeing empathy in action. You can encourage this in simple, everyday ways. When reading a story together, you might ask, "How do you think that character felt when that happened?" Or if you notice another child at the park sitting alone, ask, "What do you think they might be feeling right now?" You're gently guiding your child to look outside of themselves and think about how someone else might be feeling. And the more you do this, the more it becomes natural for them. They start looking for emotional cues in others. They begin to understand that their actions affect those around them. And slowly, they become not just emotionally smart, but emotionally generous. I remember once taking a walk with my granddaughter. We passed by a neighbor's house, and she noticed that the usually cheerful woman wasn't out on her porch waving like she always did. My granddaughter tugged my hand and said, "Maybe she's sad today." We decided to draw her a picture and leave it in her mailbox. That moment didn't come from a lecture or a lesson, it came from paying attention, and from the quiet understanding that emotions connect us all. Now, as we near the end of this conversation, there's one last thing I want to share with you, something that brings all these pieces together. And that's the importance of creating emotional safety. Not just once in a while, but as a consistent part of your relationship with a child. Emotional safety means your child knows they can come to you with anything, any feeling, any question, any mistake, and still be met with love. It means when they're scared or angry or embarrassed, they don't feel like they have to hide it. They trust that you'll be there, not to fix everything or even to have the perfect words, but to stay beside them. This kind of safety gives a child confidence in themselves and in their relationships. It becomes the foundation they stand on when life gets shaky. And it can be built through the smallest acts. Saying "I'm here" when they need comfort. Apologizing when you've raised your voice. Checking in on them not just when something's wrong, but on ordinary days too. It's the steady, gentle presence that tells them, "You're safe with me." If there's one thing I hope you take from this conversation, it's that emotional intelligence doesn't require fancy tools or special training. It starts with presence. With patience. With listening more and judging less. And it grows in the everyday moments, in the car rides, the bedtime chats, the quiet meals at the table. You already have what it takes to raise emotionally intelligent children because you've lived a life full of learning. You've felt joy and heartbreak, pride and regret. You know what it means to be human. And now, you get to pass that wisdom on in a way that changes a life. Because when a child learns to recognize their feelings, speak their truth, understand others, and handle tough moments with grace, they're not just ready for school or friendships, they're ready for the world. Before we go, let me say this: if this message touched you, If it reminded you of the kind of support you needed when you were younger, or the kind you've tried to give to others, take a moment to share that in the comments. Your story could inspire someone else who's doing their best to raise emotionally strong children. And if you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. We've got more warm, thoughtful advice coming your way, because being over 60 doesn't mean you're done growing. It means you have more to offer than ever. Let's keep encouraging the kids in our lives to grow into kind, compassionate, confident people. They need our presence more than perfection. And the world needs more humans who know how to feel deeply, speak kindly, and live from the heart. Here's to being that guide for your children, your grandchildren, and every child lucky enough to have you in their corner. Here's to living your best life at any age.